Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. As you could see in the title, I am completely out of my investment in Kuailian. I already recovered all the money that I could, so now it's time to analyze which have been my actual returns. So during the next few minutes, I will be completely transparent with you and share with you exactly how much money I initially invested in it, which have been my returns, also the opportunity cost of how much money could I have made if I had invested it elsewhere, which we will see that it would have been a lot of money. And also finally, I will share with you my overall opinion and assessment on this investment. Firstly, I just want to mention that this is the fourth and last video that I will publish on Kuailian, and this video will be centered, as I already mentioned, just on basically analyzing the final returns of my investment, but I won't go into any of the basics of what is Kuailian and so on. For that, you already have the other three videos in which I was basically introducing Kuailian and also giving updates on how the investment was going, which will all be linked down below in the description, so feel free to check those out in case you're interested. Also, Kuailian doesn't exist anymore. Well, actually the company does exist, but the products that we're discussing in this video, the ones that I had done in the past, are no longer available. They completely shut them down. The official communication from the company was that what used to work a few months or years ago is no longer working in the current market conditions of the crypto market, and they want to take some time to reassess the whole company and how they want to move forward. In the meantime, as I mentioned, they decided to shut down all active accounts, like for instance myself. They liquidated them, and their proposal was to do the liquidation at 160% of whichever amount of USDT somebody had invested in the platform, deducting all the payments that the person had received, because with Kuailian you were receiving, well, at the beginning daily, but then weekly payments. And I don't want to bore you with all the details because of course this is just in very general terms, but I feel like it's just a better idea to go and see which have been my actual returns. I initially invested in Kuailian on March 27th, 2020, and I received their last payment on November 15th, 2021. This means that the total time frame was of 599 days, or the equivalent to 1 year, 7 months and 20 days. The amount that I invested was of $650.95, but when you had to put it inside the platform, it had to be in Ethereums, not in USDT. So what I initially invested in the platform, the Ethereum price was at $135 each, and this means that I initially put inside the platform 4.82 Ethereums. Then I started collecting payments. At the beginning it was once a day, then once a week, and then even less frequently. And while in the first 9 to 10 months I was getting paid in Ethereum, then they switched this to USDT. In total, in Ethereum, I received 1.2888 Ethereums, and in USDT, including also the liquidation of my contract, so everything that I got paid from them, 297.39 USDT. And if we put all of these two numbers in USDT, so it's easier to see it, we have that I ended up receiving at the current market price of Ethereum, which is way higher than when I initially invested, a total of 5,135.73 USDT. And as mentioned, this is how much I collected from Kuailian, this is how much I ended up getting from them, but from that we should deduct the initial investment, which was, as I mentioned earlier, of $650.95, and we have, with all of these, that I ended up making a profit of $4,484.78, or a return of 688%, which is crazy. However, although at first sight it could seem like this has been a great investment, the truth is that it wasn't. The reason for that, and something that actually is a bit of a scam, is that when you had to put the money inside the platform, you had to do so in Ethereum. They told you have to put $100 worth of Ethereum to buy, let's say, one stock, one Kuai. But then when they decided in the end to pay out all these initial Kuais, they did so in USDT. And this wouldn't have been much of a problem if both of these coins, Ethereum and USDT, were at the same levels as when you initially invested in the platform. But this wasn't the case. When I initially invested in Kuailian, I bought the Ethereum at $135 each, and at the moment of making this video, its price is at $3,754, which is an increase of 2,680%. Instead, USDT is just a stable coin that replicates the dollar and is always stable at around $1 each. What this means is that if I have made money in Kuailian, it hasn't been thanks to Kuailian, the company itself, but simply thanks to Ethereum and the fact that it has increased in price so much. Now I will be first mentioning the opportunity cost that I have had of investing my Ethereum in Kuailian instead of just keeping it, and then we will also look into the actual returns that Kuailian has given. On the opportunity cost, if I had initially bought that Ethereum that I put inside Kuailian but held on to it just in Ethereum until today, I would have, or it would be worth at the moment, $18,101. Instead, I got back in total from Kuailian, as we saw earlier on, $5,135, which means that the opportunity cost of having invested in Kuailian instead of having held that Ethereum myself has been of $12,965, which is how much I have left on the table and I have not won. Moving to the actual return of Kuailian, this has been of negative 71.63%. And how did I get to that? Well, if I take the total Ethereum collected, and for that I also converted the USDT, the small amount, into Ethereum just to have everything in Ethereum, I collected 1.368 Ethereums, and if I had initially invested in the platform 4.82 Ethereums, because I remind you that we were forced as initial investors to invest in the platform in Ethereum, so I would also expect to get paid in the same amount. But anyways, this leaves me with a minus 71.63% in the return. After all of these calculations, we could summarize everything in that I made a 688% return, but I got scammed because I would have been much better off had I held the Ethereums myself, as I would have made a return to date of 2,680%. What I find incredible in this whole thing is that Kuailian hasn't even said that, oh, we were really a scam or whatever, or we have really underperformed the whole crypto market. They simply didn't say anything, and they actually even acted as if they had returned more money than when you initially invested. Kuailian in the end could be somehow comparable to an actively managed investment fund when it comes to the stock market. You give the money to certain investors who apparently know a lot, and you hope that they will beat what the market gives you. Because otherwise you are just better off investing in an index fund that replicates, for instance, one of the major indexes. In this case, let's just take the S&P 500, which is maybe the most popular and that has granted on average a 10% return. And then let's take, for instance, this year. This year, the S&P 500 has given a return of 26.89%, not including dividends. Imagine that the fund you invested in has given you a 20%. And in that case, you could think, wow, that's great, I have received a 20%, but they have actually underperformed the market, so you would have been better off investing in an index fund. The same case would apply to Kuailian, but when it comes to cryptos. In this case, Ethereum has increased in price since I initially invested 2,680%, and Kuailian has only been able to give me a return during this period of time of 688%, which is a clear underperformance. And in this case, I just placed Ethereum because that's the currency that I initially invested in when I put it there, and that I could have made those returns if I had held on to it. But actually, if we just take the crypto market overall, I think that it's pretty representative, and many cryptocurrencies have increased much more in price than what I just shared now with Ethereum. With this clear, I must also say that very likely I wouldn't have bought so many Ethereums if it hadn't been for Kuailian, because I already had Ethereums in my, let's say, long-term crypto portfolio, and what I did with Kuailian was to simply buy more Ethereums to put into Kuailian itself. So my initial plan was not to buy so many Ethereums. In the end, I benefited also from that, maybe not as much as if I had just bought those Ethereums and held on to them, but the question is, would I have bought so many? Additionally, thanks to Kuailian, I have been able to create 4 videos for this YouTube channel, including the one that you're watching right now, and I'm very happy that I didn't recommend or put anyone inside the platform. I was also very transparent from the very beginning that this was a super risky investment that very likely would turn out to be a scam. And what I'm also happy in the end is that I ended up making money when it comes to US dollars. Of course, I left a lot of money on the table. We have already discussed this previously in this video, but it's positive that at least I didn't lose the $650, which, as I mentioned, I was also ready to lose when I initially invested. Lessons from this: first, to not invest in things you don't understand, and to be very cautious about very high returns being promised, as most likely it is a scam. And secondly, that I personally prefer to manage my own portfolio of cryptos and stocks and do my own due diligence, because this way I know for sure where my money is going to. And if in the future I decide to outsource this and give it to someone else, a fund or whatever, I will make sure to do a lot of due diligence to understand who am I giving my money to, what are their intentions, do I trust them, and just overall being very well informed. With that said though, I will leave it for today. I hope you enjoyed the video on the transparency in it. If you did, then please don't forget to give it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're not yet subscribed, and as always, see you next time.